The way I would describe a broker, especially an experienced broker, is they're kind of closing seeking missiles. Like, they only get paid when deals close. They know the things that make you highly likely to close. And that's, do you have your down payment? Have you done this before? Do you know what you're doing? Like, do you have a deal team that's going to be a pain in my butt, or that's experienced and reasonable to work with behind you in terms of the banks and attorneys you're going to work with and things like that? So you present yourself as a reliable, high-speed closer that knows what you're doing and has your finances in order. That's how you present yourself to the broker.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney, and I got my man Clint in the house. How you doing, sir?
What's up, Austin? Glad to be here.
Much. Thank you, brother. So you put out a list, by the way. That list that you put out the other day of the actual brokers that you trust, man, I wish I would have had that 3.5, 4 years ago. But basically, I joke that you and Jackie are basically the only ones I trust. But business broker, is an interesting profession, right? And I think that the excitement for buying a business has never been, I don't know, you've been in this game longer than I have, but it feels like I can't fall out of, I can't go to the coffee shop and somebody's not talking about buying a business. It's just crazy to see what Walker's book did and kind of, Twitter and ETA space, just kind of go back to your beginning when you first started being a broker all those years, like, and kind of what you see now, like the transition and the amount of attention on the buying a business.
Yeah, I think all the attention's really been the big thing that's changed, but the industry hasn't changed that much, so I feel like there's just a big spotlight on it right now.
Okay.
I got into this business, I think my backstory, but I was an entrepreneur. I was a startup guy, so I started and sold a couple businesses before I ever encountered a business broker or knew this industry existed. It was like, all I knew was raising money from angel investors, doing, from scratch startups. And then, the first deal I did was to a small private equity group that came directly to us, pursued us and our investors. And, and I had some experienced investors that were our backers in the business, and they kind of negotiated the deal. I was just along for the ride, but I wasn't really in the deal making part of it. I was just, helping run the business. But sold a business and discovered I didn't want to go back to a job ever again once I had a taste of entrepreneurship. And so I became a business buyer before I knew any of the lingo. So I just Googled like how to buy a business and, businesses for sale near me kind of stuff, and discovered bizbuysell.com. I discovered all these franchise opportunities and all these things. And I had a little bit of capital from selling my business, and I had a little bit of business experience now from the 2 startups I had done. And I thought I'd be a shoo-in. I thought like anybody selling a business would want to sell to me because I have money and experience and I'm this, young, ambitious guy. And like I was just, I guess, caught up in my own self-delusion of how easy it should be to find one of these baby boomers that has a business with no successor. I'm like, I'm the perfect guy to come in and buy your business. But for the life of me, I could not get a call back. I could not find a good opportunity. And I started running into business brokers for the first time and was largely disappointed, to say the least, in the quality of representation that was out there and how difficult the process was to navigate. And I eventually snapped and said, this is ridiculous. Someone needs to make this easier to buy a business. And I created a brokerage that I wish existed when I was a buyer. but we were a sell side brokerage in Texas that was very buyer friendly. And we just took on quality deals only at realistic asking prices with complete information done in a very above the board way. We called people back. We used technology better than most old school brokers. And that just made us kind of a joy to work with if you're a buyer. And we cruised along for years like that. I slowly grew my team, grew our pipeline, and started winning awards and speaking at things and things like that. But everything changed really in the last like 5 years. It was during COVID. I lost about half my pipeline. I don't know if I've told you this, but I had the
You
worst.
haven't. No.
I had the worst mix of deals for the COVID lockdowns. I had
Mm.
like 2 catering companies. I had a wedding venue business. I had 2 oil and gas deals, a hospitality business, the stuff that was like directly.
You just laid out the hardest gauntlet on the
Yeah,
planet. Yeah.
that was like half our pipeline. It was an absolute nightmare. And we were just in shock, like, okay, what do we do now? And so I'm like applying for a PPP loan because I've got real staff here and overhead. And I'm like, and I was grateful for that program that kind of helped us get over the bridge to rebuild our pipeline. But yeah, I was during that time. I guess I was trying to figure out if I was going to survive. I went on Twitter. I think I was on Twitter for like learning about crypto and other stuff, just like randomly, but with a lurker anonymous account. Just reading stuff. And then I discovered SMB Attorney and like the SMB ecosystem I didn't know existed on Twitter. And I just saw it like anonymously. And I was like, man, there's a lot of activity here. There's a lot of people that are really buying into this thing, but there's no brokers and there's nobody kind of telling our side of the story as the way sellers and brokers think about deals. And so I just decided, I think it was January of like 22. So it hasn't been that long. I decided to go all in and just like start teaching and sharing, just thinking that if I could share real high value content, that eventually I'd build an audience and that would help us grow our business, our brokerage. And it worked. Like, had stuff go kind of niche viral, just taught my heart out, posted a lot, and quickly gained a good notoriety as some of the internet's favorite broker that just kind of does things, I would say, the right way or just a high integrity way. And yeah, we just kept hearing like people all over the country saying, "Man, I wish we could work with you guys, but you're only in Texas. That sucks," and like. And that really planted some seeds of like, you know what, like we're getting the eyeballs, we have the credibility, we have the team, we got to figure out a way to go bigger here.
Well, what I was going to say is that you, in my opinion, because I remember the podcast I listened to, I think it was Acquiring Minds. I think it was Acquiring Minds or Gurley's podcast. You put a human voice and a feeling to a broker I hadn't had before. Right? Because brokers are they're hidden, they're hard to get a hold of. Like you were like kind of saying like, this is the way you should buy. No, this is how you should sell. And it was the first time I was like, oh, this is what I've been thinking in my head for like years, but I've never had anybody like actually articulate. And that was my draw to kind of your brand and who you were. And I'm sure a lot of other people felt the same way.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, that's always been my playbook is because I feel like it's an industry that's a bit shrouded in mystery. And most people don't, like, they were like me, like they never met a business broker before, like unless you just happen to know one or you're in that once in a lifetime transaction, that's when you're going to encounter one. And then a lot of the brokers out there, it's like they rack up all these acronyms behind their names, and you'll see their LinkedIn profile and it just says so and so, and it has CBI, CMNAP, blah 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 blah, like all these initials that don't make sense. And when you go to their website, it's basically like them in a suit and pointing to all their credentials and to all their experience, but they don't actually like tell you how it all works. And I was seeking with the things I would go on podcasts and talk about and write about and the threads and stuff would just be like, hey, guys, this isn't rocket surgery. Let's just explain how it works and, put a face to it. And if I can teach y'all something along the way, that's great. If I can add value to your life, then maybe that'll increase your odds of wanting to work with me. And, but I just believe that if you give first, it will come back to you. And so it was just like a give first. Everything I've learned in 10 years of doing this, let me just share the best nuggets I've got, and maybe that will pay off. And it seems to have done so.
I should. I tell a lot of stories that people are like, you should share this on X, and I probably should share that more. But similar to your like business broker, kind of been around for a while. I have a good friend who in Central Texas, his uncle owned a land and ranch brokerage for real estate for 50 years. And he was a young kid. He got out of college. He was like 21. Everybody at the shop had been there, 15, 20, 30 years. And they were just like kind of, they were good. They didn't really like jump at like these are big ranches. Like, so it's not like small deals, 6, 12, 20, 30 million. And he's just like watching them like sit with like $8 million like deals sitting on their desk. They won't do anything. He's like, do you mind if I do this deal? And I'll give you, some of my commission since you don't want to deal with it. And so that's what he did the first year. And he got some deals done. He did the second year. Last year, he did $130 million worth of real estate.
Wow.
And so my message is to anybody that's in a field like yours, like business broker or there is an opportunity to be a human and to be excited and urgency and share your actual who you are instead of just this like polished photo of like, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I feel like just being yourself is how you win, and for me, I've never been a suit guy. I'm obviously dressed very casually if you're watching on video, but it's part of the fun of working from home today. Is just wearing my workout clothes and coming on the podcast with you. But I think that if you have results and intelligence and knowledge in your space, you can kind of speak freely, dress how you like, be yourself, and that authenticity will come through more than just leaning on your credentials that people don't understand or really care about anyways. Because people today, they care about authenticity, they care about results, they care about what can you do for me, and they don't care about where you went to school. They don't care about the letters behind your name. And early in my career, I collected all those same letters behind I collected all the letters behind my name because everybody else did that. And I thought you were supposed to do that or you had to do that. But no one in hundreds of transactions have ever asked me about the letters behind my name. They've never actually given a crap about it. And I'm grateful from some of the things I learned in that educational process to get all those letters behind my name. But ultimately, that's not the thing that moves the needle.
No, 100%. And so what I want to do now, everybody knows you got to be nice, you got to be cordial. I don't want to talk about the normal stuff to buy or sell a business or to try to be a buyer in a business. What are the small details in a transaction that a buyer can do that not a lot of people talk about? Like, what's the out of the box stuff that's going to get you noticed or put you in the front of a line with a broker such as yourself?
Yeah, so there's kind of, you got to know your audience. When you're talking to the broker, brokers are, the way I would describe a broker, especially an experienced broker, is they're kind of closing seeking missiles. Like, they only get paid when deals close. They know the things that make you highly likely to close. And that's, do you have your down payment? Have you done this before? Do you know what you're doing? Like, do you have a deal team that's going to be a pain in my butt or that's experienced and reasonable to work with behind you in terms of the banks and attorneys you're going to work with and things like that? So you present yourself as a reliable, high speed closer that knows what you're doing and has your finances in order. That's how you present yourself to the broker. To the seller, it's a different animal. So like, when you can get to the seller, they don't care about that stuff as much. Like, the sellers care about, like, yes, they care about who's going to give me the highest price for my company, but that's not everything. Like, they really care about, are you going to take care of my business? That means, are you going to take care of my employees? Some of these employees are closer than family members to these owners that have longstanding businesses, and they really care about them. Do they think that you have what it takes to succeed? Because I think every seller, one of the biggest indicators of happiness for a seller on the other side of a transaction is seeing the business do well on the other side of the deal. So then when they drive by in a few years or come by and visit, is everyone thriving? Is it growing? Is everybody still happy to work there? Are you preserving that culture, or growing it and improving it in ways they never could? They take great pride in seeing their baby kind of leave the nest and do well without them. And so they want to see, do you have what it takes to do that? So to the seller, you really want to emphasize not your pedigree on your education, not your financial firepower. You want to show your character and your ability to lead people, that you get them, that you get their culture, that you get the industry, that you're going to do whatever it takes for that company to succeed, and you're going to treat people really well in a way that they would respect and appreciate. And I think ultimately the secret sauce that I'll spill on your pod here is, like, people really deep down, they won't say this out loud. They want to sell to a younger version of themselves.
Mm.
And so if you can take your time to ask the seller about their family and what motivates them, what makes them tick, and find some common ground, even if there's a generational gap or two, between you and them. If you can find that common ground and find some things you have in common, at a deeper level, where it feels like, because I think every seller deep down, like, their plan A was probably to sell to a kid. I think that's every seller's favorite exit, is if they can sell to their son or their daughter, and
Yeah.
and see, like, it continued in the family. But the world doesn't always give them their wish, and in fact, it's pretty rare nowadays that happens. Their kids usually go off and do something else. And so if you can kind of be that surrogate kid for them, it's like either the child they never had, or the child that that they wish had followed in their footsteps, and appear like you're like-minded and a younger version of them, then that's going to endear you to that seller, and they'll pick your offer even over a slightly higher offer, sometimes, because it's just going to feel like the right thing deep down.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so true. I mean, and my beating the drum thing is that I think you said it on our other podcast earlier. You have to step outside of the spreadsheet sometimes, and you have to understand. There's a lot of different personalities involved in the deal. There's a lot of different reasons these people want the outcomes to happen. It's just a lot of different, but you have to cut through the noise, and you have to make sure that at the forefront, that seller feels the trust of this thing is going to be the thing, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to follow through on the thing. And I think a lot of times, I try to tell people all the time who are searching for a long time, like, it's okay to, like, take a 2-week break when you're searching, because, like, maybe your energy is, like, too needy, for lack of a better word. But, like, you have to recenter, like, to the mission of why you're doing it. So, like, people can feel confident in how you show up to these meetings, instead of feeling like, I need this to work, because, like, a deal's very complex.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So this amazing kind of new innovative deal platform that you built, I want to hear about this and kind of the genesis behind what we're doing here.
Yeah, so Dealonomy is the name of it. So, as you know, I raised money last year. I went all in on this new concept, and I merged my company that's been around for 10 years, including my whole deal team, is now all in on this Dealonomy concept. And it was really birthed for a few reasons. One was, I had built this national audience on Twitter and then on other social platforms, and a lot of people around the country that were buyers wanted to work with us and wanted to buy businesses from us. But we were set up mainly just to be a Texas sell side firm. And it was almost ridiculous, Austin, because my success on social media was almost being counterproductive, because we would get a deal, say like an Austin deal, the city, not you, an Austin deal. We'd bring it to market, And we always sold, like that was one of our claims to fame as a brokerage, is we had over a 90% success rate selling through any listing that we took on for 10 years straight. So it was just like this very, the industry average is more like 20-30%, but we were just really picky with the deals we took on, and we took on deals that we liked, that we would want to buy, and then we just did a good job pricing them right, packaging them right, marketing them aggressively, and following up until we got our deal done. And we worked as a team and worked very effectively at that. But where before I got well known, we would get maybe 20-30 NDAs signed on a deal that would lead to 2 or 3 offers, and then we'd end up picking our favorite with the seller and closing the deal. But as our popularity grew, or mine did on social media, we'd now get 200, 300, 400 NDAs signed. We would get sometimes dozens of offers coming in, and we were always committed to try to like talk to all those buyers. But at the end of the day, it was like 10 times the amount of work for the team to talk to that much, to 10x the amount of buyers, but we could still only make money on one deal, like the same as before. And it was almost like they were getting mad at me because it was more work for the same money, just trying to keep up with that. And then at the same time that I was growing in popularity, this whole industry was blowing up. And so like the buy a boring business, quit your job, take control of your life, freedom through small business, and then the MBA programs all promoting it through their business schools, and all this was just a supernova of buyer activity flooding into this space. And I just realized like all the momentum we thought was going to be on the sell side with the boomer retiring, kind of silver tsunami that never has really materialized, was actually really on the buy side. So we've had more of a tsunami of buyers entering this market than sellers, but yet all the brokers are obsessed with just getting listings from sellers, and the buyers that are flooding into this space aren't getting any love. Like they're having a hard time. They're having a hard time finding a good deal and getting a deal done. So they'll buy the vision. So they'll hear the gurus teaching about it, and they'll buy the courses, and they'll watch the videos, and they'll buy the dream. But when they go to try to buy a business, they realize how hard it is, like how real it gets really real, really quick, how difficult it is. And so we just thought that they needed a solution, and we wanted to break outside of Texas and go national. And we wanted something that would scale and that could solve a problem at scale in a more high tech way. And so we just kind of pulled out a blank sheet of paper, myself and my co-founders, and said, everything we know and everything that's going on in this industry right now, if we could just kind of pull out a clean sheet of paper and reimagine the deal making process, what would we build? And we came up with Dealonomy. And it's basically the most buyer friendly platform there is. We're committed to a good deals only philosophy, which means everywhere else you go to try to find a business to buy, every platform there is, I don't have anything against these platforms. It's just they get paid for listings, regardless of if they're good or bad. And so good actors, bad actors, they all put their deals on there, and it's just really hard to tell what's what. And it's kind of a jungle out there to navigate if you're a buyer. But what if you had a platform that got paid for closed deals, not for listings, and was taking the same quality first approach we've always had as a broker to maintain that sell-through rate we did, and just said, let's only take on stuff that's got clean financials, that's bankable, that's got a motivated seller, that's got a realistic asking price expectation. All those things you want to see as a buyer, we're going to make sure that happens every single time. But in order to do that, we're going to have an irresistible offer to those sellers. And so we created the most irresistible seller offer ever. And that's where the only place we'll sell your business for free. So we have no commission to sell on our site. We're the only place you can sell in a competitive environment to thousands of pre-screened buyers in our network for 0% commission. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, we give a $10,000 guarantee to our sellers. And that just means if I say we're going to sell your business between 2 and 2.5 million, I guarantee in 90 days or less, we'll get you an offer in that range. If we don't deliver, I'll give you $10,000. And so it's a really unique offer. We're the only ones that do a fast, free, guaranteed offer for sellers, and that allows us to get national traction of folks because it's very differentiated. It's a very sexy, attractive offer to sell your business with us, but that allows us to also be the gatekeepers of the quality control for the buyers and to make their life easy. And that's what we're trying to do, is use that irresistible sell side offer as bait to bring in the best deals. And then as a buyer, we like to use a metaphor of like, and it's currently when you're looking to buy a business, it looks like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You're just sorting through junk all day long to try to find this deal that's in your buy box that's realistic and ready to go. But what if when you go to us, there's no hay, it's just a needle store? Like you just walk in and there's needles everywhere and you just pick one out and buy your needle. Like that's what we're trying to create for buyers, and that's what we felt like is the biggest need in this market and hasn't been addressed. And so we're just making the buyer our customer, giving them what they want, keeping it real simple, and just doing it all on high-tech, high-speed rails.
Well, I think what's interesting, right, is that the offer for both sides of the transaction is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me, like the tech and all, like that's just that's doing business these days, right?
Yeah.
But as a seller, I'm because I'm putting myself in each person's position. Like a seller, I'm like, this is a dream scenario. Like, they're not paying anything. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, great. And then if I'm a buyer, I'm getting concentrated people that actually want to buy, that want an offer in 90 days. Like, it just seems like, it doesn't seem like a one-sided thing. It seems like both sides are getting what they want, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we tried to just align our incentives with the client, and just give them what they want as quickly as possible. And we get paid when it works, like that's how it works.
I love it. So if people want to check that out and they want to go explore that, how would they do that?
Dealonomy.com is our website, DEALONOMY. And you can go check it out. You can register for free. You can look at any of our deals on there. We also have a premium program, which is $99 a month. You can get a 30-day free trial right now if you want to check that out. But the way we're set up is those premium members get the exclusive first look for 10 days. So when we bring new deals to the platform, there are these vetted quality opportunities. For the first 10 days, if you're a premium paying member, you can sign the NDA, go right in and see all the information with really good financials, with a video interview with the seller. Everything you need to see in a quality to evaluate the opportunity is all right there at your fingertips 24/7. But if you're not a paying member, you just have to wait till day 11. At day 11, it goes live for every member of the platform, free or not. And so we just give that first mover advantage to our paying members. And there's some additional perks that go along with that membership. But we just try to create a high value, low cost membership. And that gives us recurring revenue. That recurring revenue creates this virtuous cycle. We roll that into national marketing campaigns to get more sellers in the door. But ultimately, we make money from success fees. If we can get deals closed, we'll make money and be successful.
I love it. And if people want to reach out to you personally, how would they do that?
So my name is Clint Fiore, CLINT FIORE. And I'm on all the major social sites under my name. It's just at Clint Fiore in most places. I just launched a YouTube, which I'd love for your folks to check out, but it's youtube.com/@ClintFiore. But I only have 1 hour-long video right now, but I just completely break down the whole business brokerage industry in about 1 hour and 8 minutes. And it's a very in-depth industry analysis that I don't think anyone's done a video like this before. But I'm going to be doing a long-form video once a week on there. I'd love for you to check that out and subscribe. But if you want to buy a business, definitely go to Dealonomy and register. And if you want to sell your business, you can go to Dealonomy and we'll give you a no obligation, no cost, in-depth valuation report, and we'll let you know exactly where it would sell.
Awesome. Guys, if you're looking to buy a business, go check that out for sure. If you're looking to sell your business, go check it out for sure. You can't beat it. Send it out to a friend, rate us and review us, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome.